into your. I'm your host today, Tahaza Munageli, and I'm rolling with my girl Happiness and my brother. So today we're not going alone. We have guests, but anyways, Happiness, how are you doing, darling?
I'm okay. I'm still a happy girl, hence the name Happiness. Thank you for the beautiful welcome, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Welcome to our new audience. I hope you're gonna have fun and we're gonna get educated. And to my friends and family that I have invited to this thing, I hope you're watching because today gets a register. Yeah.
Cecil, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. Hey, I'm
How's
good.
your week? How's your week?
My week was hectic as usual, but I'm ready to be here. I'm happy to be here. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right, that's nice to hear. That's great. That's great. I'm gonna take you guys to Dr. Ngwenya. Dr. Ngwenya, can you just introduce yourself, please?
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for a warm welcome. I'm happy to be here also. I hope we'll enjoy these sessions together. Thank you. My name is Dr. Ngwenya Tembani. I'm a mental health care doctor. Yeah, so I'm going to be with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ngwenya. We also have another beautiful lady in the house. May you please introduce yourself, Miss Paloi?
Hi, my name is Cam Rupumelo Carla Baloi, and very excited to be here today.
Right. Today we'll be talking about a topic that's really close to my heart. I will be talking everything mental health, and you can start preparing your questions regarding anything mental health. I know you have questions pending, yes. Then now we have our doctors specialists, so we won't be just running around with our own perceptions and whatnot. We're actually going to get educated. So grab a pen and a paper. Yes, Happiness.
Yes, no, I have a problem, Tahato. I think you let our guests go off so easily. They just gave us their names. You don't even know what they're doing. But like they're special guests, you understand? These people are qualified. That's why we have them here today. They're not just beautiful women, but guys. So I'm just gonna take the mic back to them. But what are they doing? And yeah.
Yes. Especially Dr. Ngwenya, what's a mental health doctor?
A mental health doctor is a doctor who works in a department of psychiatry, who deals with conditions that are related to mental health. I don't want to use the word mental illness because mental health is not only about mental illness. I like saying that mental health is about maintaining a good mental state to all of us or those who don't have mental illness. It is also about promoting, it is also about preventing getting mental illness if you are not suffering from mental illness. And the most important part is promoting a good quality of life to those who are living with mental illness. So that's how I define mental health, so that we don't look at it in a form of stigmatizing mental health, since we don't really talk about it openly or freely. But if we can start looking at it in terms of three things, not only the other part of mental illness. Thank you.
Nice. Miss
Wait, before you give Carol the mic, Dr. Ngwenya, information pela. We want to know, how does one get to being a mental health practitioner? What do I have to study at school? Because I think I want to course like a mental health course, So how do I get there?
Okay, there's no mental health course per se. So it's I'll start from the beginning. Like, you go to tertiary, you do MBCHB, and then you become a doctor after 6 years or after 7 years or after 5 years in other institutions. After that, you do your internship. So in South Africa, our internship so far is for a 2 years period. And after internship, then you do something that they call community service, where you work in a community hospital for a year. After that, you become a medical officer. So when you're a medical officer, you go back to school. While working, you specialize in psychiatry. And when you complete, you become a psychiatrist. So at that period where you are specializing, you are called a registrar in psychiatry. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Sure. Dedicated. Yes, Carola.
Oh, well, I am a aspiring counseling psychologist personally. I only just have a honors degree in psychology. That's basically it. And I'm currently just volunteering as a secondary counselor right now. So yeah, that's basically all.
Did you hear how sweet that is? Now I just have an honest degree.
Only.
You have an honest degree. Do you understand? Do you understand?
I
Okay,
understand.
I'm a little bit confused between 3 words. There's the psychologist, there's the psychiatrist, then there's the psychoanalyst. Can you guys just clear that up for me? What does a psychologist do? What does a psychiatrist do? And what does a psychoanalyst do? To either Miss Carola or Dr. Huye.
Okay, I'll start. I will because we have a psychologist, then I'll speak at my level. A psychiatrist does a lot of things, but the basic part of it is assessing people for mental illness conditions. And then when you assess a person, it's either you diagnose them that they have mental illness or they don't have mental illness. So if somebody has mental illness, you start giving treatment according to the conditions that they are in. So you take care of that person by giving them treatment. Giving treatment comes with other things like starting by educating the person about their illness, motivating them that they must take their medication, and being there for them for anything that the person will need assistance with. And then when you're giving them medication, you continue and follow them up, even if they're still taking medication, or at some point where you have to stop, you are the one who decides with the patient that now we can stop your medication. And there are other fields that are specialty fields where psychiatrists work. Like there's part of children where we call it child psychiatry. There is part of our old age people where we call it geriatrics. There's another part of the mental health in collaboration with the legal aspect where we call it forensic psychiatry. So it depends on which specialty you take after being a psychiatrist, but in general, when you're a psychiatrist, you take care of people with mental illness and you are there for them and you assist them with medication, and you also do some psychotherapy where you talk to them, but you at the end you refer to the psychologist depending on the condition that they have.
Oh, okay. So you like the GP of mental health.
Yes.
Okay. Miss Carola?
Okay. Well, with psychology, I would say it's a less medically inclined version of psychiatry, obviously. It's more or less focused on just studying the human behavior. So you start off with just like a 3-year degree course, and then you do your honors, and then you do your masters, and so on and so forth. But you don't have to go through the MBCHB route. So then as a psychologist, there's like different kinds. There's clinical psychologists, which is more clinically inclined. They deal with more clinical issues, more like your Alzheimer's or your schizophrenia and stuff like that. And then you have a counseling psychologist, which is more of a therapist, I guess you could say. They deal with the lesser less intense therapies. And then you have your research psychology, you have your neuropsychology, all different kinds of fields that you can choose to go in once you get into your master's level. So mostly it's just about the therapy process of it all. You know, diagnosis can happen for a clinical psychologist or a counseling psychologist, more so a clinical psychologist. They diagnose, they, you know, provide treatment, and mostly just therapies, just staying with the client. More so what she explained as well, or the doctor explained. So it's kind of similar, but psychology is mainly just focused on studying the human behavior right from the beginning, if that makes sense.
It does actually make sense. All right. Right. So the World Health Organization defines mental health as a cognitive or behavioral and emotional well-being. Like they define it that if a person can wake up, think that they can shower, they now must have food, they now has to go to work, they find a taxi going to it, blah 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 blah. Like that's how they define it. But in our day-to-day life, what is mental health?
I think, well, I'm not gonna base it on research. This is just my opinion, but I think our mental health is what makes us, because if you're not okay here, there's no way you're gonna be okay physically, emotionally. So this is the biggest part of our lives. This is what carries us. This is the soul that they always talk about. Yes, I think mental health is our inner being. And if our inner being is dead, there's no way, absolutely no way we can live physically. You can survive when you're physically injured or physically disabled, but you can do very much well. But if you're not okay in here, then there's no way you can be okay. In the real world, you can't be okay physically, you can't be okay emotionally, you just can't be okay. That's my take on mental health.
Doctors?
All right. Okay, it will just be a simple, not a definition, we have defined already, just to explore a bit. So mental health is about your brain as a whole. So when you have a brain, the brain connects with your body through the neurons, and what makes communication between the brain and the neurons is the something we call neurotransmitters, like the chemicals that goes through that and make a connection. So in a normal state, like a person will have brain, and then that also, there's a part that controls your emotions, there's part that controls your behavior, there is part that, so your brain controls everything. Like, it's like, as you said, if you can take out your brain or take away your brain, then you are nothing. So what happens is that in your brain, when your brain is working well, you have those chemicals that deals with your emotions, whether it's happiness, anger, excitement, anxiousness, or fear, or anything. So when we say mental health, it comprises all those things. But for a person to have a good state of mind, it means your brain must be in a good condition. The chemicals in your brain should be in a balanced form, so that you stay normally happy. You are not anxious, or you are not depressed, or you are not fearful for nothing. So it's about that your brain and the chemicals that works with those things has to be in a normal state.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
doctors, I have a question. What is the relationship between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind in terms of mental health?
When you talk about subconscious mind, is the part of us is that control us, but without us being aware of what is happening. And then when you talk of conscious mind, to say it in simple words, is when you have the mind that makes you being aware of what you're doing. So what happens between the unconscious mind and conscious mind, we have something in between that we call subconscious. So it's like, if I can give you the example with those three things, it's like what you see as the like a tip of the iceberg, you see a conscious mind, but deep down, what you don't see is the subconscious mind and your unconscious mind. What the unconscious mind does, it's like, let me give you an example, a simple one. Like now, if you need to pee, it's your unconscious mind that need to pee. Then it makes your conscious mind aware that you need to pee. But the subconscious mind, it's the moral part of our mind that we all have, the moral aspect of it. So let's take now you want to pee, you will not pee here. Your unconscious mind wants to pee. So something has to balance between the two, so that at the end of the day, you go and pee in a right place, which is acceptable, which is moral, which is kind of not embarrassing or not a taboo. So which means your conscious mind, you want to pee, it means you're supposed to pee here according to your unconscious mind. But because there are morals with the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, then there will be a balance at the end that you end up going to pee at the right place. So that's what our unconscious mind do. But it means you need a moral build up for you maybe to do things in that way. But in a natural way, that's the example that I can give.
All right. So what you're also saying is that you, yes?
Yeah, so it means when you talk about mental illness, you are saying there's a mind that controls us that you are not aware of. But for if it's a normal situation, it means the mind that controls you, your conscious mind will balance things so that you end up doing things the way it's supposed to be done. But in terms of mental illness, and then you will act consciously as a result of the unconscious control that you have, that you cannot control or you don't know, cannot access. I don't know if it's not confusing.
You're making sense, perfect sense. Before Cecil, you continue. Cecil, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Replenile dinner, you understand? We plan to have starters, the main meal, dessert. So, let's not just bombard it to her, you know. Balance. I'm sure. So right now we're still trying to figure out what mental health is. So subconscious, it's confusing. You know, just hold it back a bit. We're gonna have that chance. And by the way, we have a limited time with Dr. Ngwenya, so we might lose her anytime from now. So let's just use this time for information. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yes.
Yes, mental health.
Oh yeah. Now I was listening to the doctor. She quite explained it beautifully. So I feel like what I would add is just about the behaviors that we foster cater to also your mental health, the environments that we're in cater to your mental health. So I feel like your mental health also accounts for the type of area, your surroundings, what you surround yourselves with, and kind of like where you are in your life or in your area of space. So yeah, that's just basically what I would add.
Okay, so from my understanding, from the subconscious and conscious chat, so basically our subconscious and our conscious kibomzala. That's why they say adirimzala when someone is when something is not balancing. So when do we start building our mzalas? When do the morals kick in? Do they kick in when we are 15, or do they kick in when we're still kids? Where exactly must we nurture our mzalas? This for you, yeah?
So the morality, it starts when you are a child, like things that we teach the kids that this is not right, you cannot do this, you cannot the way they should behave and all those things. So it starts when a person is still a child. So it develops the things that they learn around 6, 7, 8 years. That's what builds their morality about what is right or wrong. Actual morality means right or wrong. So it's about doing things right or doing things wrong. It's just that beyond that, there are other things that maybe it's not possible to be done always right, or other things that are not possible to be always wrong when you talk of morality.
Okay. I want us to talk about the trends that you come across in your workspace. By trends, I mean how many patients with depression do you come across with? How many patients with anxiety? How many patients with schizophrenia and those kind of things? Is it where exactly is the trends are at their peak? Is it with young people or with old people?
Depression, it's among the mental health conditions. It's very common, and unfortunately, it can be missed or misdiagnosed. So you cannot say that in Limpopo or in South Africa in general, like, or in the hospital that you are working at, how many patients you see with depression. But depression is common. Anxiety also is common, and schizophrenia is common. There are other mental illnesses that we also see that are not common, but common things that we see will be depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, PTSD. When I say anxiety, I'm including everything, like even panic disorder in that. And when I talk about depression, it also includes cases of maybe parasuicide or successful suicide. So it's not easy to say at my work area how many people I see with depression, because we haven't done such studies, but we see all those common psychiatric conditions significantly so.
I think they are misdiagnosed because you don't really know what they are. Can you just define what depression is, what anxiety is, what schizophrenia is? Happiness, I've seen you raise your hand.
No, yes, I was gonna ask the same question, Laura. Since we are talking about mental health, I think it's better, since we have our professionals here, but to show define all these terms: depression, anxiety, PTSD. You know, they're like big terms that we use every day, but sometimes you might not know because we're just following the trends. Like, no rats, but everybody's depressed. We are the third generation, so we need to get real definitions of these things. So yeah, I would also like to hear Ms. Baloyi there about it. Like those 4 ones, those ones are the common ones. And maybe Dr. Ngwenya can tell us about the not so common ones. And Dr. Ngwenya, please, when you want to, you can just raise a hand and then the audience properly.
Okay.
Yeah, Carol, can you please explain the common mental health? What do you call them even? Because I don't know, I just know we talk about them, mental health. What are those called? Because I don't want to say it's illness. Conditions,
okay.
oh yes, conditions.
Yeah, I guess you can use condition, whichever one you use. I personally don't have a preference or less of. It is what it is, I guess, for me. So I guess depression. I feel like the best way that I can define it is just a state of melancholy, if that makes sense. It's a state where you feel kind of sad, or you don't, not sad, because there is a difference between sad and being depressed, but it's an overwhelming feeling of, like, a drowning feeling. It's overwhelming. It comes in, you never kind of see it coming. It just comes to you and you have no control over it. So it's not sadness, because sadness, you can feel it. You see something and you feel that this is making me sad. But depression is an overwhelming feeling of drownness. Say maybe like you are underwater and just there's no way of breathing or anything like that. That's the simplest way I can put it. It's just drowning, and it's pulling you down from your physical to your mental, and you don't have necessarily any type of control over it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And then PTSD I would define as post-traumatic stress. So after a trauma of some sort, you develop a stress from it. Maybe say you had an incident, maybe a car accident, and then it was traumatic for you, or maybe you saw someone die or something like that, and then you develop stress from that. Say maybe like you have nightmares over it, or you keep reliving it in your head. It's something that it's traumatic and it's stressful, and then it just keeps coming back. For some people, even pregnancies can cause post-traumatic stress disorders. So it's something like that. And then for anxiety, the simplest way I can define it is fear, right? There's a theory, Freud kind of defined it, simply put, as fear. So it's a kind of fear that can develop in three ways, according to Freud. It can be moral, or neurotic, or realistic. So it can be based on your fear of losing your morality. It can be based on fear of losing control of your id, which is, I don't know how to explain the id, but I think we can come back to that. So there's an id, ego, and a superego. And kind of like what the doctor was talking about, your primitive instincts to do stuff is your id. And then your ego is kind of like the realistic instinct that you have inside of you. So a neurotic anxiety would be fear of losing control over your like desire to do something immediately, which would be it. And then there's realistic anxiety, which is based on real life events that you see on a daily basis. Maybe say, for example, you were in a relationship with someone and then it didn't end well. And then you kind of develop the sense of, okay, if I get in a relationship and I do this, then this is going to happen. So it causes the anxiety to go back in, open up, and stuff like that. So yeah, and then which one else? Which other one?
I think
which
that
other
is
one?
all. That's all. But we get. Sorry, is Cecil saying something?
Yes, I was saying, I think there's also they mentioned schizophrenia.
Oh, please.
Oh yeah, I feel like that one would be better explained by the doctor, because he deals more in that than I.
Before you take it to the doctor, I just want to ask you a question relating to depression. You described it as an overwhelming feeling, So how I used to differentiate sadness and depression is that sadness occurs once, and then depression is a continuous sadness. I don't know if I make sense. Is that the case? So if something overwhelmed, should I just say I'm depressed, or it needs to be continuous for me to say it's depression?
Yeah, I would feel it would need to be continuous, but also, with the depression, like 1 second you are depressed and then you're manic. It's an entire thing. But I would say, because in order for someone to be diagnosed with depression, it has to happen for a specific period of time, according to the DSM-5. So it has to be continuous for, I think, about 6 months. I'm not really quite sure. I haven't gotten to that yet. The doctor can explain for us there, but it has to be continuous. It's not really sadness, because sadness, sadness, you can feel it. Why I'm sad comes like something that crawls from the back of you, and then it just comes at you and it stays for a very long time. But I guess for us to simply understand it, you would have to say a continuous or elongated period of sadness.
Awesome.
Okay. Doctor, I think you have to explain our OCD, our seasonal affective disorders, and schizophrenia. Is OCD a mental condition? Because I think people treat OCD as getting SY-borna, because hi, why would you want to do that? So is really OCD a mental disorder?
It is.
Yes. Do you want me to start in OCD? Okay, I can just separate them and summarize them.
You can separate them or summarize them.
Whichever works.
So when we talk about mental conditions or different conditions, that falls in different classes. So I'll start with the mood disorders. We have the mood disorders. Our common mood disorders that we see is the depression. We'll say it's depressive disorders and bipolar disorders. Like bipolar, yes. Let me just put it like that. That's how people understand it. So those two are both mood disorders, which means your mood is affected when you are suffering from that. So the other one is just when you're depressed, your mood will be low, down, or sad. However, the person explained it, but we all get sad when something happens or we react to something that is not good or pleasant. So it's not just the normal sadness that is there most of the days, most of the time, and it's there for more than 2 weeks period. And it's not really that you are always reacting to something. There could be a trigger that started it, but as you go on, sometimes you are just, your mood is just low for no specific reason that you can point to. That's why that's how it's different from the normal sadness, where I would say I'm sad because of 1, 2, 3. And when you have that, there are other symptoms that come along with that sad mood. It's not only sad mood. When you are sad, it means things that you used to like, you no longer like. A simple thing, if you used to like listening to the radio, now you don't even have interest. So you lose interest on things that used to be pleasurable activities for you. So we need those 2 things especially. And other 3 symptoms, we have 9 symptoms, but if you can have 5, then we can diagnose that you have depression. Those comes with sociality, like societal thought. It comes with feeling tired and no energy, no, like you are not interested on doing anything. It also comes with social isolation, where you will start isolating yourself instead of interacting the way you used to. And it also comes with things like you find that even physically you become very passive or very kind of anxious. You are restless and you are not well settled. And other things is, it's also the important thing is always feeling guilty, even about things that have nothing to do with you. Always blame things on yourself. After that, we say a person must have change in previous functioning. So it affects your functioning. If you are a child at home, then they will see a change from how you used to be to now. From anything, you find that you don't even have energy to wake up and prepare your bed, and then you stay in bed. It also affects your sleep. You can sleep a lot or you don't want to sleep. So that's what happens when we say somebody has depression. And when we talk about mood disorder, the bipolar, I have a colleague who defines a bipolar so nicely. Like she will just ask people, like, if now you had played Powerball and now we are sitting here now in this meeting, and then your message comes in and they say you have 130 million, how will you feel? Yeah, so you will be so happy, like you're over the moon. So it means your mood is opposite of depression. You feel very happy. And now when I'm talking, you'll think I'm wasting your time because you want to go and check things that you want to buy. And then it means you will also have a lot of ideas in your mind right now. So you will lose concentration when you're doing that on what you are doing now. So you'll be easily distractible. And you have a lot of ideas. I want to buy a house. I want to buy a car. I want to take my mother to Dubai. I want to do. At the same time, those things come to you. And they seem possible because you believe you have 130 million. But if you tell me that, Dr. Ngwenya, you are delaying my time. Actually, Pastor Strike, let's just leave these things. These things are disturbing me. I'm no longer hearing this. And then Pastor Strike will be surprised. Why are you doing that? So he does not know you like that. And then when you tell him, I'm going to buy a Porsche now, he will think something is not right with you, but to you, it's reality. You have money to buy that Porsche right now. So we need to understand the behavior of people who are in a bipolar, especially if they are in a state where they've relapsed, because we end up arguing with them or leading them to fight us. They fight us because we don't believe what they are saying and we challenge what they are saying, but to them that's real. And the moment the person take treatment to stabilize their mood, to calm them down, they will be calm, they will be down and go back to normal after some days. So sometimes it's not necessary to start fight at school or at work or with friends, or you want to challenge a person because they live in what they believe or in what they have now. So it also involves things like impulsivity. Like a person can start driving fast, or a person, if they have a car, they say, I don't want this car anymore, or I don't want this house anymore. A person can even go to the car dealer and start applying to buy a car, and people don't understand why. Why do you think you can afford that car? Why do you think you can do 1, 2, 3? So that is bipolar for you. Just imagine if they can say you have 130 million. The way you will be feeling is the way a person with bipolar feels naturally, and they believe that. So after that, we have anxiety disorders. She explained anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders, it's like a chronic fear or worry, like a continuous fear or worry of unknown. So you cannot point, but I'm scared of this snake. I'm scared of, but you are in a state where you are anxious. You feel like you are on the edge, or you feel like you are enclosed in a cage. You are locked up. So you are not settled. You are scared for nothing. We call that general anxiety. When it comes also, you'll not have good concentration because you are always in a watch of what if something happened. And you'll also have muscle tension, like things like sleep disturbance, because you are always worried. So that's anxiety disorder, but there are other things that comes with that, like panic disorder. So when you are anxious or when you are worried, your body can start responding like in a non-natural way. When you are fearful of something, your heart starts beating fast, you start sweating, you shiver, you feel like you are being shocked, or you feel like you're going to die, you feel like you're going to faint. So those are the things that come with panic disorder, but it occurs for a few minutes. It's not something that will last the whole day or for 2 days or something, and then it goes down. So the problem with panic attack is now you'll be afraid that, what if I get another attack and I'll be on that state where I feel helpless, or I feel like I will die, or I feel like I'll have heart attack because my heart is beating fast. And that can trigger another panic attack in the future. So those are anxiety disorders. And other things like social phobia, where people are worried about being scrutinized to an extent where they cannot perform in public, or they cannot even go out, or all those things. The problem with that is that some people end up being able to talk or participate or perform when they're under some substances, and you might end up getting addiction from the substances. So after anxiety disorder, we have psychotic disorders. Psychotic disorder is also different kind of things, but let me talk about schizophrenia. Schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders in general is when your mind, your thinking way, or your thought form start to change, where your mind can kind of play around, where it start interpreting things that are not there as they are there, where you'll have things like hallucinations, you see visual or auditory, you hear things that are not there, or you see things that are not there, or you believe in things that are not really there, like become delusional. Or you can also have a behavior that is very disorganized. For example, a person will start undressing in public because their behavior is disorganized. Or you can become aggressive because you are reacting to the beliefs or delusions that you see with your, or you believe they're there, or you believe somebody's attacking you where they're not attacking you, and then you fight back. So those are the psychotic disorders. They can also be caused by substances. Like alcohol can cause psychotic disorders. Substances like cannabis, I'm just using the common ones and the most accessible ones. It can make somebody to have psychotic disorders. After psychotic disorders, we have
OCD.
OCD. OCD means obsessive compulsive disorders. So when somebody has OCD, it's because in your mind, what is happening, there is something that your mind keep on repeating, or something keep on intruding in your mind, something that you don't want. So it's unwanted and it's unpleasant, and it just comes without you planning about it. So it means you'll have disturbance in your mind. Like now, if I have in my mind that worried about contamination, then what I will do as the behavior of that. So when you say obsessive, is what is going on your mind, the mind disturbance. And then when you say compulsion is the behavior that you display because you're trying to counteract what is troubling your mind. So it's like if my mind is troubled by having contamination, I'll keep on washing my hands. So that's the behavior that people will see. But behind that is because I'm worried about getting contaminated or getting an infection. So there are even other things where your mind keep on playing images or things that you don't want, and then you behave in a way of counteracting what your mind is doing to you. So that is obsessive compulsive disorder. So when people talk about cleanliness and associating it with obsessive compulsive disorder, is because others will be obsessed about order, like things have to be in order. Others will be order and symmetry, like I have to put things in this line. So those things make you to develop your own rules and rituals, which are even difficult to adapt, or is even difficult for other people to. But you, unfortunately, because you are feeling like that, you will not be worried about people. You will worry about things having order. So we have obsessive compulsive personality disorder. So that one, it's because a person, as their personality, they want things to be in order in their own way, in their own rules, in their own rituals, and so it means that one, if maybe I want the chairs to sit in a certain way in a room, when I get into the room, I'll put the chairs like that. I might not even maybe force other people to do it like that. But the problem comes where you are living with people and then you start controlling them, or you are a boss at work, or you are a mother at home. Then you start forcing people for things must be done like this because you are anxious. So they also are under anxiety groups. It's just that it's separated somehow when you analyze them. But it's because you are worried about something, then you act in reaction to that worry by doing what people see as your behavior. So what else? There's also trauma and stress-related disorders where a person maybe was fine and they're involved in a trauma, or by witnessing it, or either by experiencing the trauma. And then after that, your mind starts kind of playing games with you because it has registered that trauma. As I said, everything is the brain. It has registered that trauma, and then it keeps on coming back as flashbacks. And because you sometimes you avoid talking about those traumas as they disturb you. And then it also affects your behavior. You can be sad, you can be depressed because of that. That you sometimes you are hypervigilant, like you are always in an anxious state when something happened because of that trauma, and then you react fast. And unfortunately, also when it's happening, it can also cause your body reaction as if your body reacts to fear, and you started having the palpitations of fear. Sometimes it even affects your mood. You can have irritable mood or depression or sadness or anything. It also disturbs your sleep and disturb your concentration. So at the end of the day, all these conditions, for them to us to say they're significant, it's when they affect your functioning, whereby you change from the previous normal functioning that used to be. Now you are living in terms of being controlled by that, what you are suffering. And we also have some other things that are maybe personality disorders. Maybe let's not go to that. It's another part also of mental illness. So it's classified into different things, and what the way we diagnose mental illness is not like other things. So we'll take blood and do the test to check if you have COVID, or we will tap you to check if you have COVID. With mental illness, we diagnose it through your behavior, which we link to a specific a category of the those conditions, and the way it fits the what we call diagnostic criteria, linked to how you are behaving. Thank you.
Very insightful, very insightful. Yes, Happiness, I see your hand has been up.
Sure, I had to be getting educated here. Like Waves is doing the things for us. To the audience there, please, this is free consultation. Use it. Use this platform. Look, commenting there. You ask the good doctor and the psychologist here. So, Dr. Ngwenya, I understand that these conditions are influenced by either the environment or past experiences, the society. What I want to understand is, can it be transmitted from a mother to an offspring, in as much as it's something that seems not to occur naturally?
Yes, we have a genetic component. So most of them, they have genetic component where you inherit from, not specifically your mother. It can be any person. Like in general, when we inherit things, you don't really inherit from your mother, but from your family line, you can inherit it, especially if you have first-degree relatives who have that condition, then you can inherit it. It also happens that you can inherit a specific condition, then you have a gene for that condition, but you live for the rest of your life without that gene manifesting. So things that you come across in life, the environmental interaction is the one also that determines, even if you have a gene, if you interact with a certain environment. When I say environment, I'm talking about any situation. Like, for example, if somebody has a gene for mental illness, then you drink alcohol, and then alcohol activate your gene, or you smoke cannabis, and then cannabis activate your gene. Maybe if you did not smoke cannabis, you were not gonna have the gene activated. It's like most of the time when people get mental illness from the substances, when you tell them maybe what could be the cause, the first thing they tell you is that, but I've been smoking cannabis for a very long time. I did not have a problem. Or my friends are smoking cannabis and they don't have any mental illness. So therefore, cannabis does not cause mental illness. So it's about that. Somebody will have a gene, somebody does not have a gene. Unfortunately, you won't know. You will only know when it has activated it. So that's why some substances are better off staying away from them. So even the environmental interaction, like coming across the stressors, or especially having early childhood traumas and stressful life events, can trigger or activate your gene. So that's how we talk about genetics, or inheriting a condition and getting it later in life, or the condition manifesting later in life.
Okay. Yes, and Takatso, please, as the main driver, please fetch Cecil. I think Kusala at that time, please fetch him. He can come to the dinner table.
He's tired. Way too tired. Cecil.
No, I was about to ask.
Come back to the table, sir.
All right. I was about to ask if medically there is any way in which these recessive genes can be dealt with. Understanding that you might have recessive genes of depression in the family, or that you have inherited and then they are not showing within you. So I gotta they do this. What is it? Gene mapping. Is it gene mapping, doctor? I'm not sure if I'm saying the right terms here, but I believe it's gene mapping, where they find out what sort of diseases or whatever can be in your family, in your family line. So knowing that you have a family that has mental illness or has had mental illness? Is it possible right now in the 21st century with the 4IR at the forefront of things for us to deal with these recessive genes?
Okay, where or in Limpopo, we are not using that approach, so I don't have much information on that, like on that approach. So let me just refrain from answering that question.
Right, no problem.
Ms. Valoyi?
No, I don't know of any type of medically altering of genes.
Okay,
So,
but then
no.
okay, say I had a mental illness and then I give birth to my kids and then they inherit it from me. But one of the bravest kids decides to deal with it when they first encounter it. Can it be healed and not be transferred to the next generation?
I think what doctor explained, yeah, I'm taking over, doctor. I heard a lot from you. I think what doctor said is that it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be passed from the mother to the kid, as long as it's there in the relative. She even said first degree relative. Is that what you said, doctor? Yeah, as long as you're related, it's in your bloodline, then it can. It can. So I think because breaking the curse or the bondage, then it's over.
But then I believe it can be healed. I mean, if my grandchild decides to, okay, this cycle ends here, then the next line of generation is not going to have to go through mental illness because the pattern was broken somewhere. I think this is where childhood traumas come into play.
It's like saying because I was able to treat my what are genetically transmitted, my diabetes that is genetically inherited, because I was able to treat it. Is it even treatable? I'm so sorry if it's not treatable. Because I was able to treat it, it doesn't mean and this is it, it's over. So everybody only their own assignment. If they want to break it, they'll have to work it on their own. Mara ke nagana gore e ka fetsa ke motho. So mara easy. Or am I lying, doctor?
You know, I look at genetics like if you are you find that your mother is of a light skin, your father is of a dark skin. You cannot predict when pregnant how is the child going to look, dark or light or chocolate or what. And you will never know where it will end. It will be more lighter, will be more darker, and all that. I don't know. Maybe people who are doing genetics, who are dealing with genetics, will have that information. But it's not easy to predict, especially in terms of mental illness. They just put percentage. Like if you, for example, if you say maybe if your first relative have schizophrenia, you have how many percentage chances of getting it. It does not also mean that you will definitely got it, or they will know you will definitely get it, or they will know who will get it and who will not get it. So maybe the gene mapping thing, I don't know.
But then,
Yeah,
doctor, can a cycle be broken?
Hello?
Can a cycle be broken? Can a pattern be broken?
That's why I'm giving an example. Like if you want to break a dark-skinned person in your family in the future, how do you do that? We don't know.
I think what I can tell you, Tahato, is that the aggregate. You know, I think our good pastors will help with that one. Now break these bondages, these generational curses. And I think it would have been so nice if we had them on the show, a pastor and a sangoma maybe, because right now we are getting a medical insight of these medical conditions. when somebody has bipolar, depression, and then you know, so such things. I think it would have been so nice from their perspective. And if there's somebody in the comment section, please just drop the comment and just give us what you think. What do you think about mental health? Yes, thank you,
Miss Talo,
Takato.
you have something to say.
All right.
Okay, I think honestly, what I can say, she was talking about whether the cycle can be broken or not. I think we can try maybe look at evolutionary psychology, which just talks about you adapting a certain kind of behavior to fight off an event that you come across. So if your grandchild decides to handle something a certain kind of way, according to evolutionary psychology, the children that come after that are then able to adapt the same behavior that would be able to deal with that disorder, not necessarily to break off the gene, but the behavior that would be required to deal with the problem. I don't know if that makes sense. So not necessarily the gene, but the behavior. So I feel like they can adapt that. Yeah.
So,
Yes,
okay.
that makes sense to me.
I like where your approach is going. I like where your revolutionary psychology it is, right? I like where it's going. So this is evolutionary.
Comrade,
Yeah, evolutionary. Yes, yes. This is when you're talking, this is altering behavior, right? So this is where we look at what your subconscious and conscious mind, which is a question that I was asking the doctor, whether this could be an actual solution into mental health, having control over your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind being your body, I believe, and your conscious being your mind. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Honestly, I feel like the doctor explained it quite well. It's three parts. You know, you have the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. With the subconscious and unconscious, it's more or less something that you don't really have control over. The one that you do have control over is your conscious mind. So I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you really don't have control over what your super ego is or what your ego does at the end of the day. It's something that happens within you, and then your consciousness reacts to it. So the only one that we have control over is the consciousness. And if we can train the consciousness to adapt to certain environments, then we can find a way to, if the unconscious acts upon something, then be able to react to that. I don't know if I'm making sense.
You are.
Okay. Okay, you threw me off a bit there.
Am I making sense? Am I making sense?
You are making perfect sense.
You're making sense. My question is, you know, I understand that you can't have control over your subconscious, but you have control over your conscious. My question is, trying to have control over your subconscious, wouldn't that be helpful? I assume that things like this is where things like meditation and all that take part, whereby they help you take control of your body, since it's your body learns habits over time, how you react, how you behave, waking up, eating, brushing your teeth. That's just your body reacting towards your environment. That's what you're saying, right?
Okay. I think maybe I'm confusing what you're saying, and as well as maybe you're receiving what I'm saying as well. What I'm saying is that the only part that we can control is the consciousness. And then if we can train the consciousness to react a certain kind of way to a stressor, then if the stressor does come, or if your unconscious encounters such a problem, then your consciousness can react to it. I understand you're talking about meditation and whatnot and controlling your body, but all of that for me falls under consciousness, not
Okay.
necessarily something that you cannot control or something that you don't really understand where it comes from.
Okay,
If I'm
great.
making sense.
You are making sense. I think you clarified it for me. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
controlling the conscious, wouldn't it be a more prudent, solution towards all these mental health problems? And if it is, why is it not being promoted so much? Are you guys afraid of losing your jobs?
No, you cannot really train a consciousness at the end of the day. Like, say, for instance, evolutionary psychology is just a theory based on maybe a few instances where people were able to learn certain behaviors to react to such situations, right? There isn't been much research, at least that I've found, on evolutionary psychology that goes on to say, well, if we can train 5 people to do this, then their children and their grandchildren will be able to react the same way. It's more of a natural selection kind of situation, that you will have 3 children and maybe one of them is able to adapt that method of reaction, and then the other children aren't necessarily able to. So trying to control your consciousness is it's also not easy. It's not something that's easy to do, because you're living in the world, you're seeing things happening, and you also have to live within yourself. You have your unconsciousness that has its own problems. You have your id and your ego and your super ego. They're fighting each other, and it's all just manifesting outwards. So it's not as easy to control yourself as maybe us having a conversation about it would be. Yeah.
Okay.
So if at the end of the day, somehow miraculously, a majority of the people were able to do that, and that was able to be transferred, then that would be nice, but it's not really possible.
Okay. Thing is, I found some evidence of people doing that. I think I don't know if you know him, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks a lot about all of this transformation of the mind, and changing your habits, changing your behavior, and then beating such mental illnesses and bettering your life. So that's why I'm coming at it from a point that if we were to work on ourselves in that regard, maybe it is a solution for all this.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
come
definitely.
to you, Carola.
Okay.
Cecil, whoever doctor that you've quoted, remember the reason why these people need to go through that master's level, I think it's for them to do their own personal research about certain topics. Maybe that doctor that you're talking about would really research so much research on that, and now I take over. So now you're not gonna throw Baloyi with all of what the doctor has said and expect her to have all the answers on Kushisha.
No, I'm just, maybe it's, look, she's studying psychology, right? So it would be, her opinion would matter in this regard, as in, would be something, that would be something that should be, understanding of, or something that should be able to say, yeah, you guys can go look at that and see how far that goes. So things like that, given her knowledge of the human behavior.
All right.
I'm
And
not
it's also something that I wanted us to talk about, because I myself, dealing with social anxiety every day, I had to look, therapy is expensive. Therapy is expensive. I don't afford to every day go pay for a therapist sit with me and explain to me that, no, you can do so. Usually we tend to go to self-help. So what Cecil is talking about is a method of treatment, digger self-help. It usually that a lot of people are really going towards that route of meditation, of it's quite something that's gaining popularity, but also, Cecil, it's also something that is linked to spirituality. I agree with you and agree with Happiness, because you are asking a psychologist, someone who really wants to sit with you down and explain the methods that they already know. I see Dr. Ngwenya has been raising her hand. Let's attend to her, then we'll come back to you.
Sure.
She's leaving us.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Oh,
I'm not leaving. I just want to clarify, Cecil. I think he is maybe he's being caught in what is unconscious, what is conscious, and maybe what is happening in between. So it's possible that the doctor who wrote what you are saying we have read was saying that when they do therapy on a person, what happens is that they see your behavior. So your behavior is as a result of your unconscious mind that you are not aware of. Like now, for example, if I react with anger towards specific people, or maybe some trauma has happened to me when I was a child, then I associated it with specific type of people. Then when I see those people, I feel like I react with anger, or I don't like them or something. But what you will see as my behavior is me not liking a specific person. I don't use gender or race or anything, but when I can be taken through a therapy and they take me backwards when I was a child, maybe they will find that I don't like a specific person because I associate it with a certain trauma. So now I don't know that myself, but through the psychotherapy, they take me, kind of expose my unconscious mind that is controlling me to behave in a certain way, which is conscious, to a certain person. And now when I start understanding that I hate or I don't like specific people, or it's because of a result of things that were in my unconscious mind, then they're taking out that unconscious mind, without understanding it, and then I'll be able to deal with things that were in my unconscious mind and I was not aware of. I don't know if you're talking about that, but don't take the unconscious, conscious, and subconscious as something. It works together. Like the example that I gave, like if you want to pee now, it's your unconscious mind, which is the id. You don't have control over that. You are like, if it's like if there's no bathroom, you will pee on yourself because the id.
Is that her connection?
Nobody. Yes. So in that way, it means you cannot suppress your id, but there should be a negotiation between your unconscious mind, yeah, your subconscious or super ego, and your ego, for you to negotiate so that you go and pee in a right place, which is morally acceptable. So it's all about that. You cannot say, then can a person deal with the issue of peeing, and if you want to pee, you don't pee. It's not possible. It's the negotiation between the three that end up giving a acceptable outcome. And if it's situations or emotions or fears, when there's no good negotiable or good end results, then that's why you end up having depression, anxiety, other things, because those things are in conflict.
Happiness, your hand is raised.
Oh, yes. I just want to say before Jala Pili, you know, the management keep buzzing me with messages for it, but you said you're gonna release Dr. Ngwenya. Why you're holding Dr. Ngwenya hostage? Please, Dr. Ngwenya, tell them that we are not holding you hostage. You're here willingly so. Please say it because they're here. Please be my witness.
I will stay for a little bit, but not too long.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We also, I like what you touched on, that you may hate a certain person, or you may react with anger to a certain person, but when we dig deeper into you, we find that it's something that happened when you were a child. So it brings us to the topic of childhood traumas. I've realized that a lot of us, especially youth, we're walking around with heavy hearts. We're walking around with childhood trauma. So now I am hurt by my parent, by their parenting style. I get to your office, we go through my trauma, but then how do I go back into the same household that brought the the trauma to me.
Please modify the question or repeat it.
Okay, I wanted to.
Sorry to cut you. And I think with those type of questions, ne, it's better to like give a scenario. Is there anybody in the house who have had childhood traumas and are open to share about them? And I think it's gonna be so much better getting advice from that angle. Thank you.
A scenario. Wow. Okay, you are okay. I'm in an abusive household. I'm in a house where my mother grew up. Like their disciplining line was to shout, was to beat you, like those kind that the traditional way of disciplining a child. But now that disciplining is manifesting itself as I grow as someone who can say what they want, who can stand up for themselves, who can express their feelings. So now I get to Dr. Ngwenya or Mr. Loi's office. I'm here for therapy. We go through my emotions. We find the root of my emotions. Now, how do I go back into the same house that brought me those traumas? How do I deal with PTSD like that?
Carol.
Okay. Hi, I thought you were asking the doctor specifically. So, honestly speaking, for me, so issues that involve parents for me are a little bit hard because I also have experienced some trauma myself, and I am living currently with the person who helped me develop said trauma. So for me, the easiest way that I was able to just live with the person was just to accept that first of all, that was the situation that was, and second of all, understanding that your parents are also human as well. I think sometimes we put our parents in pedestals, and when they do something wrong, we remove the fact that they also experienced trauma. This is more or less something that they gathered as a child that they're giving to us now, that we are gonna or possibly give it to someone else if we're not treating it. So for me, the easiest way that I was able to just accept that was the situation that it was, and just accept that she was also a human being, and she also experienced some very troubling things, in her teens, in her growing up and stuff like that. So there's no real way of dealing with it. It's either you accept that they did that to you and you move out of them, they remove all of your negative energy, or you accept that they're human too and maybe try and help them out. Because now we're in a space where I'm able to have a conversation with her and talk with her about the things that she did to me, because talking also helps, when you express yourself out loud and get the person to understand the things that they did to you, so that they are able to at least understand where they went wrong and they're able to fix it. So yeah.
Talking is something that main bedroom with. Cecil, I believe you have some stats regarding
what?
men, because this is the hour where I attack men. So come in with the stats.
The stats, right? Ah, man. The stats, where are my papers?
Suicide stats, by the way.
Yeah, well, he's still
okay, I can't see
the stats. He's doing. Do you have them, Cecil, or you're still checking them?
I am still checking. Anyone
Well,
else?
he's still checking. Yeah, well, he is still checking. I just want to relate to what Pam saying katabaya childhood trauma. I don't know, in my instance, I recall them, refer them as traumas. I just feel like some of the things are just childhood traditions. Speaking from experience, I'm from a very religious and spiritual family. It started there by my great grandparents. So everything in about they always kneel down, tell them about anything. So growing in such an environment, I remember during my varsity years having a mental breakdown. And then when I was having a mental breakdown, I did tell my mom, hey, Mama, I'm not coping. This is what's happening. I did study, but now I can't recall anything. I'm having panic attacks. I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. Wara. She's like, okay, no, just pray about it and you're going to be fine. You know, I'm like, I prayed because I've been trained. No matter it's a challenge, no matter it's anything. First, reflex. It was a trained reflex system. The first thing that I think about, it's prayer. So I'm like, Mommy, I did pray. And I must also say that my mom is a very loving and supporting somebody in my life. So I can it's a story that I told her that I'm gonna share on air. Yes, she did tell me. After telling her all of that, she's like, now the conversation starts to get hectic. She started saying, no, this is demonic. You're allowing the devil to get through you. And that's because that's how she grew up. If you allow certain things like this, I mean, test, and I'm saying that because she's saying it's the devil. You know, they were not educated about mental health, about anxiety, about depression, such things. So you're not you know. And fortunately, I did get support. Pastor Strike, he was one of the solid support structure during that time, and I managed to see the doctor. And only after that happened, because I was mad at her, I'm like, Heaven, one of the main reasons I want to make it in life is to make you women proud. I want to do it for you. And now you're telling me now I'm entertaining the devil. How? So I thought after a while I had healed from that whole thing, I went back to her. I'm like, Mommy, like, this is what happened. And I was not happy with it. How you went about this whole issue. You know, I'm a praying lad. I pray so much. So why do you think now I'll be here entertaining the devil while he's trying to get to me? And that whole conversation also changed her thinking, you know. There's no way but if but Mommy, like but then such things I saw Satan man and I educated her. I made it my assignment to educate her about mental health, and believe you me, no, I started about if she sees or you're not okay, no, go see a doctor. She prays for you and you go see a doctor. So I think our parents, especially our African parents, they need more education about mental health, because most of them, they're even suffering from such things. Depression, this woman went through a lot, you know. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Tahato.
It's also something that I see, like, each day when I go onto my socials, I see like 10 posts where somebody says, if you said just pray. I feel like it's condescending, like it's gaslighting the person, because Lama Tomo, not everyone's gonna believe in God, and just because I don't believe in God, it does not mean that I have to go through this. So I think also with us youth, we should step up with educating people. Like, yes, do pray, but some things you really need to just talk about them openly. Get a safe space and just talk about them. Yes, you did pray, God is coming through, but what if God is going to come through to you through happiness? What if happiness is going to be that person where you pour all your troubles, and then happiness is like, oh, I know Dr. Ngwenya, oh, I know Carol, and then that's when God is in action. Maybe with us youth, when somebody says, I'm struggling with this, our first instinct shouldn't be pray about it. I feel like that's really gaslighting the person, because if I'm one person who thinks, if I get up and come to you for help, it means I have exhausted all my resources. It means I've done everything that I could and I'm still stuck here. So when I come out and say, this is my problem, when you send me back to myself, you feel like you really want, like, you know, that kind of thing.
No, but I think this is what I'll always say. Now, Norma, you come to me now and you tell me your problems. The first thing that I'm going to say is pray about it. And if you tell me or you've prayed about it, then I can give you the second option, because that worked for me. Sometimes it just needs prayer. And I'm a Christian, so I do support the power of prayer. And but I can go because I can see our time is it's flying. So you can continue with that again if we still have more time.
Okay, Cecil, come through with the stats.
The stats. So 35%, 35.5% of males commit suicide in a year. That is 35 out of 100,000.
Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Okay? Hold it right there. I'm gonna need Miss Baloy and Dr. Ngwenya to answer this for me. How many men are in therapy?
Maratha, how many?
Like how many? I don't want an exact number. It's like if we ask you how many men are in a tavern, you're gonna guess the number off your head, like they're probably 100.
No.
But now, honestly, if I ask you to grab a number, guy, go coyotes, trust me, you're gonna say, I want over maybe about 1,000 of them. Now I need for how many men are in therapy. It's not, I don't want an exact number, like, oh, I have 15. I just want an estimation.
Okay. But remember, before I'm sure but remember these people are working like you're working in a hospital. So you're dealing with a very big company.
But I know how many women I see in a day and how many men come in. Not necessarily the exact number, but I know for it. The knee braces, it's gonna be a lot of women. I've never, like, since I started in this hospital, I've never given a knee brace to a man. So I want that kind of estimation. Do you understand? Like, how many men are in therapy? Maybe like just a smaller and a fraction of them. Because I have a problem with men. Men do not talk. It's always women with societies where they talk, where they come up with. It's like men don't experience trauma at all.
No, we do. We do. I get when we speak about it, you gaslight us.
That's why I need to know how many men are in therapy.
I like how you put it in the beginning, or you're looking for a fraction, maybe 1 in 2 people, it's men. That type of
something like that, yes.
Oh, okay, no, that makes sense. I thought you wanted 102. Okay.
No. Carol.
Hi.
Hey.
I wanted to touch on what Cecil said about when they talk, they're gaslit. My poo. I'm so curious.
You'd be surprised.
I would love to know who is gaslighting you, right? So for me, I work in an old age home. So majority of the people that are women. So it's honestly all women that are in the society that I work with. So zero male presence there. So that is the percentage that I have for you.
Another problem that I have is, where are the old men? Are they all dead?
Yes. Yes. No. They're not all dead. I think, honestly, if we're going to talk about men, their ability to communicate, and the stats, we all know the stats, men are dying at higher rates from suicides and all that. We really need to look at societal standards, the society that we've built. Concepts such as patriarchy, misogyny, toxic masculinity, all of those things are imperative in understanding why men are where they are right now and why women are where they are right now. You know, that's why I wanted to ask, who is gaslighting you and why are they gaslighting you? Because it may happen that he is being gaslit, but who is gaslighting him and why are they gaslighting him? Because you may find that we talk about, like, what do men talk about when they're together, right? It's very rare to find instances where men are together and they're talking about their personal issues, because they will get a different kind of treatment from the same men than a woman going to another woman to discuss the problems that they have. We really need to look at why that is. And that's because of patriarchy. That's because of toxic masculinity. We're living in a society that has told us, me and the men, and you women, that men, or the existence of a man, does not involve emotional awareness, does not involve emotional communication, does not involve anything that has to do with communication and talking through the issues that you have. You have to man up. The concept of manning up is literally reducing you to someone who doesn't express themselves emotionally. And that's because of the society that we built. It's not necessarily that women don't want to listen to you. It's because we've also been taught that a man can only be a man when they don't say how they feel. So all of that, like, I believe that, men aren't talking, but the issue isn't that we're not allowing them to talk, it's because we are failing to really understand why they aren't talking. And I feel like it's very important for us to really talk about those things. This is why I personally am a feminist, Black feminist to be specific. And whenever I talk about this, people are like, well, you're a man hater. And I say, no, actually, I am pro-man, because for us to exist in a society that we need to exist in, we need to remove certain qualities from men and women. Talking, communications, emotions, feeling stuff has been attributed to femininity. And then being aggressive, being harsh, intolerant, it's been attributed to being a man. And that's not it. A human being is someone who's holistically able to maintain themselves in certain situations and able to express themselves in other situations. So no, Cecil, I am personally not gaslighting you. And I would love for more men to open up to situations, and I would love for more women to listen to men, but I would also just like more men to listen to other men. I don't know if I'm making sense.
You
No,
are
you're
making a lot of sense.
You're making perfect sense. You're making perfect sense. But we have to consider that as much as men are told to man up, they are not just told by men. They are also told by women that they need to man up in order for them not to be seen as weak, right? Another thing is, what when you're talking of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Man, how do I put it? Men can talk to each other about their feelings. It's just not at the degree that a woman will talk to another woman about their feelings, because there is still that portion of them that needs to feel like, I need to take care of my own. They said I shouldn't use vulgar words here. Yeah. So yeah, there's still that, and there's still that thing whereby they don't want to be disrespected. There are a lot of factors that affect the way that men communicate in general. So we can't just pinpoint one thing, and we can't just say it is because of men that they are unable to communicate in such a manner. It is
Okay,
also
can I comment?
Well, yes, please.
Okay. I don't know if you were able to hear what I said, but I'm not saying that it's men's fault. I'm saying that it's the society that we're living in's fault. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is something that we are taught as children. I was taught as a child that I have to do certain things, and you were taught as a child to do certain things. And it was my responsibility to unlearn the behaviors that I saw as toxic. And after I was able to unlearn them, I was able to then see your point of view. But me alone isn't necessarily going to help you, because between you and I, if a man was to come here, who are they likely going to listen to? Are they going to listen to a woman, or are they going to listen to another man? I'm not saying it's all men's faults, but I'm just saying if more men were to willingly learn about the issues that we face, then they wouldn't have as much a hard time accepting the fact that they're human and accepting the fact that they're supposed to express themselves the way they do right now. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. A lot has to do with men themselves. That's what you're also saying, that they should unlearn the behaviors that they have been taught and all that. How do you unlearn years and years of teachings of telling you that you're a man and you have to provide? That is the sole purpose of a man, to provide. How do you unlearn that? Everything.
Why do you have to unlearn that one? Cecil, sorry, don't unlearn that one. Don't unlearn that one. You need to provide. We are not raising a generation of lazy men. Please don't encourage him to unlearn that. Men, yes, you are providers, and there's nothing that's gonna change. What we're trying to change is we are saying voice up. Don't run away from your responsibility. We still want you to provide food for us. Get healthy, get better. Voice up about issues. If better, be free to talk about it. But they are how are you supposed to unlearn how to stop providing? You need to provide. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay,
I had to turn that one out.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm not saying that men should unlearn that. I'm saying that there are a bunch of things that come with that. With that, men, the sole purpose of a man is to provide. Part of that is men have to find out, what they have to do. Whilst women, on the other hand, already know. They know that they give birth. I'm giving a very basic example. Don't bite my head for this. So women mostly know, or they have to nurture, and then I have to provide. I have to figure out all of that. And then how do I then come to you and say, baby, I'll provide. What am I going to do here? If I do that, then I'm a weak man in the view of most or society, if I may put it.
I'll come to you again, Cecil. Before a professional one, I'm representing African women because I feel like you're coming at us right now. We are not saying, yes, we do have expectations of men. Yes, we expect men to do certain things. But should you not be able to do them? Be able to that's what we are addressing right now. We are not saying no, if I'm not planning no. That's the core thing today. They should be able to talk. If you're not be able to provide at that moment, okay, like no, something because then I'll be looking for something else. I can't do with what they're expecting me to do at work. You understand what I'm saying, Cecil?
Maybe
awesome.
Maybe
Carol, you can throw. Oh, sorry. I was saying Carol can throw in the professional insight because now I was giving you the African one.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's not really professional, is it? Well, honestly, okay. Many of the issues that we have in our society are built in. So as a child, they teach you things, you absorb them, and that's why you're saying right now, my job is to nurture. I'm not nurturing. Then, like, imagine I grew up being taught that I have to nurture. They were giving me dolls. They were giving me all of these things that were leading me towards a specific route that I had to take. Come to turn out, I'm now fully grown. I don't like children. I don't like the idea of nurturing. Now, understand what I had to go through psychologically. I had to come to terms with what society was saying, and I had to come to terms with who I was. I went through a state where I didn't even know if I fit in appropriately into society. I didn't even know if I belonged to society. There was a time where I didn't even feel like I should have been alive or I needed to exist because I didn't fit into a specific mold that was given to me, right? Now, with all of that information, the thing that I did is I self-introspected and I was able to communicate my problems. Do you understand? Now you are also a person. You were also taught things. You were also taught that you have to provide, you have to do all of these things. If it comes to a point where you can't do that, if it comes to a point where you are unable to provide or you can't find work, high unemployment rate right now, we're going through crisis, you should be able to introspect and communicate the problems that you have. But the reason why you are also struggling to communicate is because part of what you were taught is that as a man, you aren't supposed to communicate. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Yes. So what's stopping you more than anything is that your source of release is also what you're not supposed to be doing. And that's what you need to change. That's what men need to change in themselves and also help other men change. Obviously, women also play a role. I'm not taking that away because we're also taught that you're not supposed to talk. And I personally help out wherever I can with, like, if you need more information on patriarchy, unlearning, self-introspection. You were talking about Zen and meditation, all of that. I can help out. You know, I have with whatever I can. So what I'm trying to say is, more than anything, you need to know yourself and you need to be able to talk wherever you are. And you need to be able to understand the root cause of a problem and not just what we have on the surface.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying.
I understand you clearly. I understand you, ne? I wasn't speaking for myself. I don't share majority of the views that normal traditional men follow. I am more on a very different line. My views are very radical, if you may say, or yeah, you know. So I was just giving you a view of the majority of men, traditional men, you know, African men. That's how they view things. If you want to tackle things, you tackle them from their viewpoint, not from mine, not from yours. You are a new generation baby. You know, you have learned so much. You know, you're educated. Majority of the men that I'm talking about are not educated. Those who are educated have too much pressure on them. Are you seeing where I'm going?
But Cecil, let me just cut that conversation short. It's a topic for another day. We are gonna host a whole session about patriarchy and all of those things, and I'm sure Carol will also be our guest during that conversation. So now let's just take it back to our driver. Takhazo, please take control.
Okay, just to wrap up conversation, yeah, Carol and Cecil, to every man who's watching, Cecil, your friends, Happiness, our boyfriends and our guy friends, I think men need to remember that before they are men, they are human. And being human includes having emotions. Being human includes being in touch with your emotions. So before you are Cecil, before you're a provider, you're a human. So with the remaining 15 minutes, I just want our beautiful psychologist here to take us through different treatments for the most popular mental conditions being depression and anxiety.
Can I break in? Can I come in right there? I think you have questions on Facebook. Please, someone check Facebook.
Okay.
Can you please anchor them for us, Cecil? Please go collect them and bring them all together here. The last 10 minutes we'll just try to address those questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. William,
Yes.
Please take us through treatments for depression and anxiety. How best can we deal with it?
Okay. If you have a condition of depression or anxiety, when it's diagnosed and we've concluded that you have that, we start you on treatment. So we have medication in terms of tablets that we give. As I said, that most of our mental conditions is because the chemicals in your brain are not in a normal state where they are. So the medication that you give, we are targeting that to either take them up back to normal, or if they are too high, to take them down back to normal. So we give you medication for a certain period, depending on the level of your presentation or the stage of the presentation, and on other things, if it's the first time or it has been multiple relapses of the condition, so that it kind of case specific. So even also with our medication, we have different classes of medication. We also choose according to your symptoms, because even if two people have depression, they might not be experiencing the similar symptoms as some of the symptoms. Like, for example, it's possible that a person who has a depression have insomnia and they're struggling to sleep, or is sleeping a lot and struggling to wake up. So it means those two people both have depression, but you will not give them the same treatment. So we look at those things. That's why we're saying it's case specific. Every person will look at you as an individual and give you treatment according to that, and we choose from different classes. What also happened is that most of the conditions we like, especially depression and anxiety, you get treatment, and you also get psychotherapy that is done by the psychologist. And we also work with other different teams. We say it's multidisciplinary team, or where you involve the psychologist, you involve the social worker, you involve the nurses in the ward, it also involves the occupational therapist. So it's kind of holistic management of a specific individual according to their presentation, their social issues, and their needs.
Okay. I recently heard about this benefit where you can actually go to the hospital and be like, I'm not okay, and get admitted. How true is that? If it's true, how easy or difficult is it? Well, you have that question. The other one is that, can you try to treat depression or anxiety at home? If yes, how do you treat it, or how do you cope with it? Yes.
Okay, in terms of going to the hospital and ask for admission, in our section, when maybe, especially if you are diagnosed, you know, I have depression, and you can feel that now it's like I'm going back to the symptoms. I get it. When you have mental illness, there are points where you are fine in between. When you're taking medication, you'll be fine in between. But sometimes when you start feeling that I'm going back, or I'm not feeling well, or I can't take it anymore, you do go to the hospital and ask for admission. Then they admit you as a voluntary. It means that it's somebody who has mental illness, but they still have ability or capacity to decide on their mode of treatment. Yes, so we have that in mental illness. We also have other type of admissions where a person has no capacity, or they don't understand themselves as a result of mental state or mental illness, where they can be subjected to admission without their own will, where we say it can be assisted admission, or it can be involuntary admission. So we have that. With mental illness, if you think I'm not feeling well, I'm going to relapse, you do get admitted, especially but it's subject to the space of the hospital. If there's a bed, like the bed occupancy of the hospital that we are going to, but we do admit people because they think they're not well. And then we will release you when you think, now I'm well, or if we need a space, or you think you were assisted in terms of coping skills, or so. I forgot the other question.
Coping at home, treating it while at home without medical intervention.
Okay. So we'll start by asking, how did you come up with diagnosing yourself that you have depression? What will you be treating if you start treating yourself at home? But there are other things where you think, I'm not sleeping well, and maybe, there are some herbs or some over-the-counter medication that when you drink, it makes you to sleep, or you think I'm not. But if it's depression or if it's psychosis, it won't be easy for you to diagnose yourself, because you are in a state of mind where you don't, your mind is controlling you, let me put it like that. So maybe even the understanding of your condition will not be in that level where you say, I will treat myself. Like if maybe you think when I have flu symptoms, if I take this, it gets better. Yes, but with mental illness it's difficult, because what will you be treating? I've noticed that there are other complementary treatments from pharmacy, from whatever, where they will tell you it treats depression, and people buy those things. But the danger with our medication is that it works on your brain. So you must be knowing what you are targeting. You can have side effects. You can it can counteract some of the medication that were given from the hospital, or make it not very effective, or make it very kind of overdose because of the certain medication that you are taking, and you don't know the road of that medication. How does it work? What does it takes up? What does it takes down? So that's the danger. I will not advise someone to do that.
Okay.
And also because yeah, and also because there's not enough literature of those specific medication that we'll go and buy over the counter, and we don't know how they work. So it's better to stick to the medication that is prescribed by the doctor. And they also explain to you what they're giving you this, or what they're targeting. If you want to understand to that level, you can, but treating yourself might not be safe.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, 2 hours had left for 2 seconds, guys. Oh, this conversation is really nice. And so, doctor, what I was asking you here, the coping mechanisms, things they call endorphin stimulator, things like exercising, things that would make one happy. Do you have like a list of them, or just examples, so that if there's anybody who's out there who's thinking that they might be depressed, self-diagnosis, even though there's a danger to it, how can they stimulate their endorphins or dopamines, whatever, those happy hormones? Yeah.
There are things that other people do. When they do things, they know it makes me happy. There's a neurotransmitter in your brain that controls the happiness, and it can be activated by other things like exercise, or doing things that you like, or eating things that you like, or doing an activity that you like. But it's also better to get an advice from somebody who knows that if you do this, it will assist you. But there are exercising, there are other things like physical activities, or playing certain games, or doing certain things that are healthier, like will not make you to be in a state where it will counteract the goal that you are looking forward to reach. So it depends also on your condition, and it's also more dealt with the occupational therapist and the psychologist. Like they can train you on doing certain things that will improve, other than only taking medication. So these things work hands in hands. Like we work together and say, I'm giving you medication, somebody is doing this psychotherapy with you, somebody is working with your coping skills, and somebody's attending your social problems at home, like social worker. So we work as a team. But if you feel, or maybe if I'm not happy and I go and run, when I come back, I'll feel better. And then you can do that, as long as it does not cause damage to your body or interfere with your condition or medication.
Okay, thank you, doctor. We are going to have a 10-minute extension just for us to answer all the questions. Sorry for the inconvenience to anybody that it may have affected. So I see Cecil is back. Takato, I'm sorry to take the steering. Yeah, Cecil.
No, okay.
Oh yes, the questions that were laid out or asked. How is depression treated? I think that one has been answered.
Yes.
And then the difference between autism and OCD. And
wait,
where is the scripture
wait.
Yes.
Would you share one by one so that our professionals don't forget or so that question, the difference between OCD and autism, I think Baloi can take it.
No, I'm sorry. I would rather give it to the doctor. I personally just have an honest degree. That is master's level thing. So I will hand it over to the doctor.
Okay. Okay, nice, fine. Okay, those are two different conditions, like totally different. Autism is a condition that occurs in childhood. So in early development. So it means a child, it affects their communication, it affects their social interaction, it also affects they also have other stereotype behavior they display. So if somebody has that, it will be there. It will not be on and off. So it's someone who's like that every day, and not because of emotional interference. So it's not because you are happy or you are sad, or something is making you happy or making you sad. It's just that certain behavior can be exacerbated or made worse because of certain stimulation, like maybe if they change your environment or change things that you are used to, because they have kind of a certain way of doing things, if there's autism. But when it comes to obsessive compulsive disorder, is someone who have something in their mind that controls their behavior. So you see by the way they behave, this person is obsessed about infection, so they keep on washing themselves, or they bath for a very long time because they don't want infection. But it will not affect their communication, it will not affect the way they interact with other people as such, and it will not affect their they will not have any stereotype behavior. It will just be an acting up of you washing the hands that time when you're washing the hands. And outside that, if the contamination is when you touch things, or the contamination it's when somebody touch you, when they greet you. When you're driving a car, you might not be worrying about the contamination. But a child with autism, or who grow up to be an adult with autism, they will be like that throughout until they get maybe certain training on certain things that they will turn up and be kind of conditioned with that. So it's two different things.
Okay. Cecil,
The
I don't know,
last question.
diagnose or whatever condition that I have right now, but I have this thing when we are running out of time, I just panic and take control. I'm sure Tahat is like, but this is my boss. I'm sorry, Tahat. So yes, good Cecil, as you're asking questions, please make it snappy, and our good doctors here, please try to keep it short and simple. Thank you.
Okay, the last question is, where is the scripture that says a man is a provider? I'm not sure where the scripture is for one, but I don't think it's cultural, it is spiritual, if I may say. It is psychological as well. And yeah, I don't know. How do you guys want to answer that?
No, no answer.
I wouldn't say, oh, okay. Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I wouldn't say a man is a provider is a psychological thing. I would honestly just say it's a cultural phenomenon. It's a societally built in kind of concept. It was brought to us obviously by the colonizers, and you know, it from them specifically, it was done so that they would have control over their women and stuff like that. And when they came here, they found us behaving in certain kind of ways, and they kind of involved us in kind of their ways, and also just kind of took it upon ourselves to just go with it. So it's more or less a capitalist, more or less white supremacist ideology. So yeah.
Yeah, speaking of scriptures, we do have an in-house pastor. I'm sure Pastor Strike is here listening out or watching. If there is a scripture about a man providing or taking care of the family, he'll just quote it down, go comment section. If ayeko, he'll just say or ayeko. Yes, Cecil?
Oh, that was all. The last one was how is depression treated, but that one has been attended to. And again, guys, I would like to say, if you're going to be dealing with issues that have to do with men, I think it is much better to take a minute and actually listen, because there's a lot of insecurity that has to do with why men can't speak about their problem. So if you're going to come at a man while he's speaking about his problem, the problems that are caused by insecurity, then there is likelihood that you won't get the solution or you won't get the answers that you want, because you are taking their insecurities and you're putting them on the table. Not that I'm speaking about myself, need to be clear there. But yeah.
Yeah, no, Cecil, I think that one, like I said, it's a whole topic for another session, and we might be lucky to host it next week to discuss these societal norms and patriarchal whatevers. So, but then we are going to dwell more about it. I'm sure Takhatso will now want to take over her bus. So yes, over to you, Takhatso.
Firstly, thank you, Dr. Ngoye, for staying with us for so long. Thank you, thank you. Thank you also, Ms. Carola, for joining us. We're definitely going to have you when we talk about modern day feminism and patriarchy and toxic masculinity and all those. Cyril can bring his friends, by the way.
All right. Right.
If there's anybody who wants to engage, please hit us there by the DMs or comment section, then you can be part of this whole conversation.
You can find me on Facebook. I'm Monagedi Takhatso. I'm on Instagram, T Monagedi. I'm on Twitter, T Monagedi again. Yeah, that's where you can find me. Any last words, Dr. Ngoye, Miss Carola, where we can find you, your services?
Their last words, their concluding statements about mental health, maybe a tip of advice or something.
Carola?
Can I go?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I don't have any social media platforms. The only one I have is WhatsApp. Yay. And then my last words, honestly, is to keep a healthy mindset is honestly just to take care of yourself physically. It's, well-being, it's holistic, right? Taking care of yourself physically, eating well, reading a book or two, meditating. I highly recommend meditating, or just looking into things that you wouldn't normally do to find a sense of peace. And it'll also just help with your mental health overall. Yeah. Not sticking to one thing, exploring, keeping an open mind.
Dr. Ngoye?
All right. I will say let's take care of our mental health. Let's know ourselves. It is allowed to be sad. It is allowed to be angry. It is allowed to cry, even for men. Cecil, you can also cry. So let's understand ourselves, so that if there is a change, you can pick that up yourself. And also, as people, we interact with other people. Let's know our significant others. Let's see if there is changes, if there are things that they are no longer doing the same way, if there's a behavior that they're displaying and we're not used to that behavior, because sometimes we are the gate of our significant others to get help when it comes to mental illness. So I would say let's understand ourselves and let's take care of each other so that we can help each other.
Any last words, Happiness? So,
of course, I do have my last words. What I want to say is, right now we are using this platform, Baywaves, to voice out, to build a better Africa for ourselves. So I think we can apply the same concept in our personal lives. Use our voice to heal ourselves. Let us take care of our mental health. Using our voice, let's communicate. Yes, still we need to communicate before this mental health take care of us. That's all I have to say. Let's love ourselves. Let us heal. And yeah, let's just be good. Pray.
All right. For me, you guys can find me on Facebook, Cecil Maboko, on Instagram, Cecil Maboko, and on WhatsApp. And for all the UNISA students or the UNISA law students, you can find me in our association, ULSA. So I'm your chairperson. I'll see you there. And another thing, closing, would be that, dear men, take care of yourselves, accept where you cannot, and try some form of transformation. It wouldn't hurt really. And women, try listening and don't be too harsh.
Thank you. My favorite thing to say is that before you are a man or a female, you are human. So allow yourself to be human. And that is it from us, Bayway. See you next week, same place, same time. Honey, enjoy your week. Remember to feel your emotions. If you want to cry, go cry. If you want to smile, smile. But then just be human. Bye.
Bye. We love you.
Bye.